Hello and welcome back to this episode of the SpareTime Podcast. Unfortunately, the old man is not with me today. He is on ulterior business. So, it's just me. But I am in good company because this week we are joined by PBA title holder, PBA Alliance Cup holder and Storm Lucky Larson Masters winner, among other things. Team USA player as well, AJ Johnson. Now this episode is one to look out for. Really excited, really enjoyed this episode, filming this episode. And I messed up the intro, so this is the intro this week. I do apologise, but anyway, I'm not going to keep you any longer than you have to when you get in the podcast. This episode of the SpareTime Podcast is sponsored by ADR Wear. They fund all of our clothing to make me look good on and off the lanes. So we really appreciate you guys. They are in the comments below. If you want to check out their website, please do. They're amazing. And yeah, let's get into the podcast. So AJ, it's just finished the Storm Lucky Larson Masters. How was that for you?
Well, this year didn't go as well as last year. That's for sure. I was defending champion and, looking to make another good run at it this year. And unfortunately, it just, the couple of blocks I thought I had enough score, it ended up not being enough, and just couldn't get enough the last one to make it in. And it was tough. The lefties were really strong this year. They had an unbelievable look, and there was a lot more urethane used this year than there was last year. So, even though I did have it, I did use it, but, I didn't stay in it as long as some of the other guys did and, used reactive a little bit more. But yeah, no, I thought I bowled really well. I thought I did the right things, just couldn't get the hits when you needed them. And, especially on strings and, in a 6-game block, when it's a sprint like that to get score, it just made it a little tougher. But yeah, not very, I guess, happy with the outcome, bowl well. And, I enjoy my time over in Sweden. I love Sweden. The people over there are incredible. They're very, so respectful to us and recepting. They love having us. We love going over there. It's absolutely beautiful over there. So yeah, I always look forward to that trip, but I just wish the bowling would have gone a little better.
Yeah, you can't really get much better than first place. And I kind of just want to focus on last year's Lucky Larson for a few minutes because it was your first PBA title. What was that like for you after being on the tour since 2015 and you came in close numerous times. So to finally get yourself over the line and get that first title, what was that experience like?
Yeah, no, it was incredible. There's really no better way to say it. There's no better way to describe that. It was just finally all the hard work and everything had paid off. No matter what I've done before, because I had done a lot of great things up until that point. Was a part of a team that won the Elias Cup, the PBA League. I've been player of the year in my region, 3 times. I've won countless regionals. I've won, been a part of some great teams that have won gold medals with Team USA. I've done a lot of things, outside as well. I finished second numerous times, made a lot of shows, major shows here and there. So to finally get that one, it meant a lot. It really did, kind of solidify a lot of things for me. Make me want to work harder, make me want to continue to have that feeling again, because winning is an addicting feeling on the tour. So I really, I just want to keep striving and trying to get more and then eventually win a few majors and reach my ultimate goal of being player of the year. But that moment last year was really special because my girlfriend was with me, Allie, and right before we had gone over there, we found out that she was pregnant with our baby boy. So that alone, knowing that, going over there and then getting the win with all that happening, just really, really made that moment even much more special.
Mm-hmm. And having a PBA competition in Sweden hasn't been something that's previously been seen.
So, hopefully it's the first of many, at least for me. Financially, there's for many reasons it's a lot better. It gets the Europeans into the sport, even gets people further sort of into Asia, and that they're closer to an event, and hopefully there'll be a lot more. How important do you think it is to have more PBA events in places like Europe and Asia?
Yeah, I think it's great. We actually used to have a world bowling tour almost, where we would go to a lot of different countries that held big tournaments that gave away PBA titles. I remember going to Kuwait, Qatar, Thailand, Korea, and then Sweden and Germany, and there was quite a few places that we went to that had a lot of that had a tournament that gave away a PBA title. And I think it's incredibly important because it gets people from other countries. It gives them an opportunity to, compete with us and compete against us. And it gives them the opportunity to win a PBA title when, they may not want to travel over here to the US to bowl full time on tour because it's, a lot of time away. And it's a far travel, and a big time commitment to bowl full time on tour over here. So it gives them that chance. It gives them that opportunity. And not only with that, but I think it just helps grow the sport even more. The more times that we can have events over there where us from the national tour from the US can travel over to other countries, it just helps grow the sport worldwide. And it brings fans in, it gets people to come and watch. It gets people more involved. And I think the more that we can do that and have more chances like that overseas, I think it only just does better for the sport of bowling itself.
So you mentioned sort of the World Bowling Tour sort of in the past, and I believe in the past year or so there was something sparked about a World Bowling Tour. I don't know if you saw anything about that.
Oh, the new thing that was announced that was supposed to take over the world.
Yeah, it's kind of gone radio silence now, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been nothing.
I think that's one of those events where it's a really good idea if it gets pulled off, but there were sort of sign up to meetings and stuff, and for me, I don't know if I've missed anything, but it never really seemed to solidify anything more than that. But having something like that where you can pack thousands of people into an arena and bowl would be amazing. And it's a tough one because bowling alleys aren't really built to facilitate massive crowds. Do you have any sort of ideas on how bowling could better, appeal to the masses and pack out stadiums?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Bowling is an indoor sport that are not usually in big venues, like a lot of other indoor sports like basketball. And, when you have indoor arenas like American football and baseball and hockey and stuff, bowling, we're not bowling in arenas like that. So it's hard to get that amount of people and the mass amount like that to come and watch. I don't know what the solution is. I don't have all the answers. We've talked off and on about that, guys on the tour and, ways that we can, make it more appealing. Having guys, that are more athletic, the younger generation, we're starting to see, more of the younger crowds tune in to watch bowling. And, guys that, when they strike, they show emotion, they get excited. They, guys that, go back and forth, it gets people involved in that way instead of just throwing a shot and turning around, walking back and sitting down with, not doing anything. So, I see a little bit more involvement with that. And then, with social media being such a big prevalent factor these days, just having people share more things and having people put more stuff out there for bowling, over the past few years and for many years, actually, there's been a lot of negative stuff that has been shared. And, that's all people want to talk about when it comes to bowling is all they want to do is just talk negative. They find all the bad stuff that they can. And that's what they comment on. That's what they share. That's what, that the first time that someone on social media, has the opportunity to say something bad about a bowler, they take that advantage. But when something good happens, they're quiet. They don't say anything. And so if we can have, if people share more positive things in there, and we make bowling, a bigger positive sport, like all these other ones. Sure, all the other sports have those, those guys that think they know everything there is to know about, that sport when they've never played that sport in their entire life, or, they played one time when they were 5 years old, and they think that, they have all the answers, right? You still have that in other sports, but there's a lot more positive stuff being talked about. There's a lot more, good things being shared, no matter what it is. Whether it's just a play or something that's done well, they share that. In bowling, we need to have more of that from more people, not just the tour, just more people across the world, just sharing more and talking more positively about bowling. And I think that will create more traffic and more interest from people outside of bowling as well. And I wish that we could have an arena, in every region of the United States and in every country outside of the United States to host a bowling event. The National Bowling Stadium in Reno is an incredible place. The only problem is it's just in one location. We just have one of them. And then there's the stadium in South Point, that arena, that same thing. It's in one location where, I think if we had more places like that across the entire U.S., in the Midwest, the East Coast, far on the West Coast, more in the central part of the states, in the U.S., I mean, I think it could create bigger traffic and bigger numbers of audiences and things like that. We're just at the discretion of the size of the bowling centers that we bowl at. As great as those bowling centers are, it's just tough to get the numbers that other sports get.
I mean, I've had the privilege to bowl at South Point Reno, not yet, but hopefully in the future. But I remember going to South Point and thinking, wow, this is amazing, and it was my first sort of taste of bowling over in America. Mm-hmm. And I think especially for the younger kids, bowling SYCs and events like that, and you've got like the LBC, sort of league championships and all them type of things that go over there. To have a center that is literally committed to only competition bowling, it's so special, and it gives us a glimpse of what we could have, but not what we have got.
Right.
And I feel like, there's definitely a lot of things going around, in the works. And like you mentioned, social media is huge for it. People like Darren Tang, Packy, all these sort of people who are building social media channels, YouTube channels especially, and we spoke to Darren Tang a few weeks ago, and he mentioned about how important it was to produce a crossover with bowling and bring people from like NASCAR and baseball and football into bowling. Because, you see with baseball with the first pitch, people from all sorts of walks of life getting involved, but them sharing the content gets it in people's eyes. And if you've got a NASCAR driver with 250,000 followers or 1 million followers who shares that they're at a bowling competition, or like they're at the PBA league, it's going to get so many more eyes on. And I think what people have done so well is create content that isn't just for bowlers, it's for people that just, it provides entertainment value, not bowling value.
Right. Exactly. I agree with you 100%. It's bowling. Bowling as a sport has been really hard to reach that group and demographic of people that aren't bowlers, to convince them that bowling is cool. So, there's a lot of people that, over the last 4 to 5 years that weren't necessarily golfers, but they found a way to think that golf is cool. And there's been a huge increase in numbers of golfers over the last 5 years. We have to try to figure out a way to do that with bowling. And like you said, having celebrities and athletes from other sports share stuff with bowling, and be a little bit more involved with it, will get their followers and their fans to go, oh, they like to bowl. Well, bowling must be cool then, because they're doing it. So I'm going to go and do it, or I want to be a part of that, or whatever the case may be. So I think you're right. I think, having more of that would be great, because there are athletes from other sports that are incredible bowlers, and they love to bowl. Mookie Betts is one, Terrell Owens, just to name a couple guys that have done a lot of stuff with bowling, from the athlete side. And then, you have country music singers, Jimmy Allen, Chuck Wicks. They all love to bowl. They all love to be involved with it. So just doing more things like that and getting their followers to see it more, and, getting that demographic that aren't necessarily bowlers per se to think that bowling is cool, and get them, to see it more and view it more.
I suppose that bowling as a sport to market is slightly harder than, say, a soccer or football team, because, as a team, you've got like your whole social media team, you've got, a dedicated marketing team, which, the PBA's done. And in fairness to the PBA and Tom Clark, that they've done a stellar job in sort of recent years of increasing their social media presence, and some of the content they're producing is brilliant. But bowling has a huge emphasis on the individual bowlers using their social media page. And in fairness, you're one of the bowlers as well who, I think you've got 26,000 followers on Instagram, and you make full advantage of the followers you've got and the reach that you have to try and post stuff that's, not only it's sort of informative and entertaining, but stuff that's going to benefit bowlers and, get people engaged. And I think, like the question videos that the PBA page do, things like that are huge for bowling, because it shows the personality behind bowlers. And, and I think we need to place a real emphasis on bowlers getting involved and having more sort of incentives to get involved in social media, because, don't get me wrong. Yeah. Like in any sport, you're going to have people who want to turn up, bowl, go home, but you have them personalities like Kyle Troop and stuff like that, who they're the ones that really carry the sport, because, someone who throws a strike, turns around, sits down, there's not too much entertainment value in it.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree 100% with what you're saying. I think you're right. And over the last couple of years, the PBA has done a great job, with what they've had available to them, with what they've been able to do, with the resources that they have. And they're trying to do more. They're figuring out ways. We have a couple of people that are, that their main purpose is to do social media stuff and to figure out ways to grow more social media content and get more interactions from people, not necessarily bowlers, but people outside of bowling, getting them interested and whatnot. And over the last couple of years, I think we've gotten more followers, we've gotten more reach to other people, and it's credit to them that they've done a really good job with that.
Mm-hmm. And we talk about atmosphere. You can't get much better than what's coming up. You said you're going off to Portland, Maine soon for the PBA League Finals. I think to experience something like that must be amazing, and it's not something that many people have experienced. What's it like to be bowling in front of that crowd?
That Bayside crowd is they are unlike any other. It's truly amazing to see how they receive us and how they treat us, and what they do when we come there to bowl. That the one-time thing, the PBA League and the finals there, having them that they tailgate before the event. They're doing things with us. They're loud. They're cheering constantly. Always they're not only just cheering, but they'll boo a player. If they don't like what they see or they miss a spare or something like that. They're not afraid to let it happen, much like it is at other athletic events, right? So you go to any other sporting event, soccer, American football, baseball, hockey, basketball, you name it. You got a stadium full of thousands of people that are cheering and yelling or booing or, whatever the case may be at all times. And so when we go to Bayside, we get that atmosphere. We get to experience that. And it feels like a real sporting event that way. There's a lot of people that are like, oh man, how do you deal with all that noise? It's, that's not like bowling. And people are shocked to find out that I would say the majority, 85 to 90% of the bowlers that go to Bayside to bowl the league, they actually like having the noise. They like the cheering. They like the yelling. They like all that going on. Because it's constant, it's always happening and stuff. So when we're bowling, other TV shows and it's super quiet, when you see a player back off or something, it's because there's that sudden noise. Well, if there's noise happening at all times, we don't hear all that stuff. We don't hear the the guy that drops his phone in the background or, drops a pen or something like that. When it's quiet, we hear that stuff. When it's constant noise, we don't. And away from that, having that atmosphere and having the people that are they're constantly engaged at all times and they're cheering and yelling and they're excited for, what's happening. We truly do like that. And then, Charlie, the owner, he's built that bowling center to do so. He's built it to host a arena type athletic atmosphere for the finals of the PBA league and built it for his fans and the people that cheer and do everything. So, they've done a great job and we look forward to that every single year. A little bit more this year because our Las Vegas High Rollers have we've done so well this year. We got that number 1 seed. So hopefully with everything that we've been doing and how good our team has been working together, we can finish this one off.
Yeah, so it's not too far away, the start of the PBA League finals. What are your expectations going into it?
It more so the expectation of just the atmosphere and just knowing, we're expecting, kind of have a bit of a target on our back because of, how well we bowled throughout the year and we've been the team to beat. And, but we're going to Portland where the Lumberjacks are, they kind of have that home field advantage. So we expect them to bowl really well. They always bowl well in that building. So, but we just try to not get too ahead of ourselves. And we've done a really good job as a team, just kind of sticking to what our team has done and just staying in amongst ourselves and really just focusing on the task at hand. And, that one frame that each bowler gets in the first half of the game. And then, worrying about the second half of the game when the time comes. So our team's been good about being present and all that. And we're just going to take it one shot at a time, that cliche saying, and just do what we've been doing all year and work really well together as a team, communicate well. But yeah, I mean, we know what's at stake. We know what the job is. And, we're there to take care of one thing and one thing only.
Mm-hmm. Now, it might sound a bit bizarre to the outside person, but pressure is a huge thing in bowling as well as the mental game, and it's all part and parcel. And I'm curious because I've only ever bowled on a TV scene where everyone's quiet. You take your shot, no one speaks, and then a little clap when you get a strike or whatever. But I'm just curious. Do you think that having that more sort of lively atmosphere, do you think it takes some of the pressure off?
Maybe a little bit. Yeah. Like, you don't feel, you don't feel like that quietness where you kind of feel like you're on an island almost. Yeah, I think it kind of takes some of that away and, lets you kind of bowl a little freer. And, but at the same time, like, you've got 5 other guys standing behind you that are right there with you. So I think that plays a little bit more into it than just the noise and the crowd. The crowd helps because, when you do something well, they're going to go absolutely berserk. And, if you get a bad break or something, they feel you, they feel that pain with you. So, when you get up there and there's, all the noise and everything going on, it kind of helps bring in that tunnel vision a little bit. And then having those 5 guys and your manager behind you, helps take a lot of that away as well. And that's a little more relieving than anything, especially when you got a group of guys like we have.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about the group of guys you've got. What's the team dynamic like on your team?
Oh, it's great. I mean, me, Andrew, and Matt Russo have been together on the team, I think now for 3 years. Now, and then we add Matt Ogle and Sean Rash, which those two have bowled doubles together for the last few years. They're best friends. They know how each other bowls, how each other works, what they need. So, that dynamic has made it even better. And then we throw Thomas kind of in the mix, and he's been that ultimate team player, when we've needed him to step up and, when his look is really good, when we've needed it, he's delivered for us. We had a short time there where he had hurt his finger. I think he broke his finger at a tournament. So we missed him for a few weeks, but when he healed and he came back, he came right back in the mix of things and was ready to go. So he he kind of helps with the glue of everyone. And he's just that ultimate team guy that, when we need him, we know he's going to show up. And if he's not bowling, he's going to be there supporting every single one of us, no matter what. And, that's the one thing that we've all done. I think that's why we've bowled so well all year together, is that we all have picked each other up at some point in time. We all have, we've all had each other's backs. We all communicate well. We all know what each other needs, and no one feels any pressure whenever we step up on the approach to throw a shot for our team, because everyone has each other, and we just done so well together. This is Brantley. This is our 6-month-old little man. He's our light. He's my entire life, and why I keep pushing to keep getting better and better, to show him, give him someone to look up to a little bit, and maybe show him the way.
Yeah, do you think he'll bowl?
Maybe, he'll be around it enough, that's for sure. So I'm sure he'll pick up on it pretty easily. But maybe a football, maybe baseball, maybe a golf club in his hand when he can. Dad likes to golf a lot, so I definitely will have a golf club in his hand at some point in time.
Yeah, sure, he's in better hands than me. I'm terrible at golf. So I just want to talk about Thomas. You mentioned that, I think he broke his finger earlier on, and from the social media posts I've seen, he's one of those guys that, he's a really good professional. He gets on, he does his job, and he did some pretty crazy stuff when he broke his finger. I think he was drilling extra holes in the ball to try and throw it and all sorts. Having a player like that on your team must be amazing for the sort of cohesion of, it doesn't matter what gets thrown your way, like, I'm going to find a way to get around it.
Yeah, absolutely. He, and he's done that. He found a way when he broke his finger. He found a way to continue to bowl a little bit with that, and then he came back healthy, and it was like nothing ever happened. And he when we went through the draft and it got down and he was still available, we jumped at the opportunity to take him, because we knew, the way he sees the lane and the way he kind of likes to bowl a little bit. He's really good at playing straight, and playing straight and bayside is not necessarily a bad thing. And so in drafting him, we were looking at, what are we going to need, or what's going to be good when we get to bayside to be able to win, to win that Elias Cup. And Thomas was that answer 100%. And we've had a couple of weeks where a couple of us didn't really have great looks. We weren't seeing it right. Our ball wasn't doing the right thing. And he stepped in, and his ball did the right thing. It fit his eye, and he executed as good as anyone. And Thomas is a great player. I mean, you don't win the Masters by luck. You have to have the right draw at the right time when you get through matches and things like that. But that's one of the hardest tournaments, one of the hardest majors to win. And he proved that he's capable of being able to do anything that is thrown his way by winning that tournament. And he's just a great guy. I've been friends with Thomas for years now, traveling overseas, and him being a part of his national team and me bowling with Team USA. And he's a great dude. We've been friends, and he really fits in well with our team. And like I said, he's an amazing guy, amazing player, and a great team player as well.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's sort of an aspect that not many people see. When you mentioned, you looked that he was available for the draft. What kind of goes on behind the scenes when it comes to the draft? Because I think it's something that we don't really have over in England or Europe, but it's something that's very prevalent in America, and I find it quite interesting. How does that work? Is it like a player manager decision, or is it just purely management?
I feel like the players, we have a little bit of say and a little bit of conversation amongst ourselves as to what we think would fit well, and who would fit well with our team. And we talk about, how certain guys like to play the lanes and see the lane, and, how that will fit with the team and being able to gel together. And then, also you throw in the mix too, guys that are team players. They love bowling the team stuff. They are, they're willing to help the team out no matter what. They're just good guys to have on a team because they want to be there. They want to help one another. They're not they're not just about themselves. They're able to kind of separate the individual part of the bowling with the team part, and we can all kind of work together and reach the common goal that we all have, which, every single person that's on our team has been that way. And, a lot of those conversations, when we have a manager like Amleto, he pays attention to a lot of things that happen on our tour. He watches the guys, how they bowl, watches, how they interact with one another. So he has a really good idea.
Yeah, so you mentioned talking about your international career, and you've had quite a bit of success. It's fair to say that international bowling is very different to individual bowling. Tell us a bit about that. What's your experience been like representing the USA?
With Team USA? Team USA has been a huge part of my life. I ever since I made the team the first time, I have really worked hard and strived to be a part of that team every single year. And fortunately, this year has been my 10th year on the team. I've been very fortunate and grateful to be able to travel to many different places and be a part of some great teams that have won gold medals across the world. So I absolutely love bowling for Team USA. I feel like it's part of my DNA. It's in my blood. It's just something that, as long as I can possibly do it, I'm going to be a part of that team or want to be a part of that team. And I enjoy the team bowling. I enjoy, working with with all the guys and all the our team that's in that room, and being able to go places and, put guys, have guys travel that, and no matter who we send to any tournament, we know that, we're going to be the best team at that event. And it's truly special. And it's really hard to kind of describe to a lot of people, because it's something you can't necessarily describe until you're a part of it. Until you get to wear that jersey, you get to wear the red, white, and blue, those three letters on your back and represent your country. There truly is, there isn't a better feeling than standing on the podium and listening to your national anthem with a gold medal around your neck. That's for sure.
I think sort of as a whole, the atmosphere when it comes to international events it's huge, because people aren't just playing on the PBA tour. People play for all sorts of reasons. They play for the money, they play for the sort of the accolades, they play for fun. There's many reasons why, but I think as a common ground, when you play on the international stage for your country, you're playing for your country, you're playing for the pride of your country and to represent it. And I feel like the passion of a lot of bowlers comes out a lot more prevalently when they're playing for their national team.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. It's like I said, it's a different feeling. And it's something that's almost indescribable unless you get the opportunity to be a part of it and be able to do it. Because like you said, there is some emotion and there's a little bit different side of some guys that come out, when they're representing their country, and when, especially because it's kind of separated away from the PBA stuff. It's not just yourself, you're bowling for, your country, your federation, your other teammates. And, it's a completely different feeling. And, the true raw emotion does come out. That's for sure.
Yeah. I want to talk a bit about your bowling career personally. So obviously you graduated from McKendree, and then you went on the tour. Was it the idea of, you always wanted to become a professional bowler, or was it kind of something you fell into?
No, from a young age, I always wanted to be a professional athlete. I didn't really care what it was going to be in. I wanted to be involved in sports because I loved sports growing up. From the time that I could walk, I remember just always wanting to be outside and playing football, baseball, basketball, or, and bowling, as well. My dad bowled, and still continues to bowl to this day. He he's the one that really got me into it. Him and my mom met in a bowling center. I learned how to walk in a bowling center. I just kind of born into it. And I wanted to play football, American football, at the next level, and wanted to continue that on. I started playing that when I was 5 and all the way through my senior year of high school. But through high school, bowling started to kind of take its own avenue and started to lay the groundwork for me to be able to continue that at the next level in college. And it seemed like that was going to be the avenue. If I wanted to continue sports, I wanted to stay in sports as long as possible and make a career out of it and be a professional athlete and fulfill my dreams. Then bowling was 100% going to be that. And I think it's paid off pretty well. I think it's worked out okay. But yeah, I've had family that's been involved in bowling. My grandfather bowled, my grandmother bowled, mom and dad, and everyone that's been a part of my family has all been involved with bowling. So I guess I could say that it was destined for me, even though I wanted to maybe continue to play other sports at a higher level. I guess bowling was kind of the one that was, destined for me to continue on and make a big career out of.
So, obviously you graduated from McKendree. What was the leap into full-time bowling like? Was it like straight away, or how was that?
Mama's home, so someone is very smiley right now. Catch a whiff. He took a nice one right in my lap. Sorry about that. What was it that you asked?
No, so I said obviously you graduated from McKendree, and then you're sort of looking on the venture to become a full-time PBA bowler. Was that something that was straight away you left college and jumped straight into it, or was that something that happened gradually?
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to happen right away. Obviously it was in the back of my mind the whole time that it was the possibility. But I knew throughout college, I'd done some good things in high school. I set some records, bowled some pretty incredible series, and our team won quite a bit when I was in high school. But I knew I needed to get better in college. I needed to find a way to get better on harder stuff and learn how to be able to play all different parts of the lane throughout college in order to be able to get to that next level. So I knew it was in the back of my mind, but my focus really wasn't on that. It was more so of, how can I get better every day that I'm here? How can I benefit the team? How can I help out the team so that we can be as successful as possible in the 4 years that I have here? And so I didn't think it would happen as fast as it did. But within, between my freshman and sophomore year, my freshman year was when I made Team USA for the first time. In between my freshman and sophomore year, I won junior gold. And things just kind of took off from there. It was pretty crazy. I didn't expect it to happen that fast. But I enjoyed every minute of it. And, with everything that happened, I was just trying to figure out ways to just still get better and still, I'll ultimately get to the point to be able to go on tour. And then my senior year, I bowled the Masters I think it was my second time bowling the Masters ever. I went undefeated in match play. I beat Belmo the night before the TV show to get the number 1 seed and was the number 1 seed on, my first major telecast as a senior in college. So that was kind of my moment of like, yeah, this now I can start to see the writing on the wall, and this is something that I'm going to continue on, right after. And, bowled that show. And, obviously I finished second there, but, it was more so the experience and it was everything getting to that point, getting to the show that, showed me a lot, not only with my bowling, but also about myself and what I was capable of. And right after my senior year, I walked across the stage. I got my diploma. I went to dinner with family, and I hopped on the plane and flew to my first PBA event right after, literally the night after I graduated.
Yeah. So, you mentioned that you had a lot of work to do in college, and I think every bowler has that sort of defining moment where they kind of go, yeah, I'm bowling, I'm competing, but I'm not doing enough. If I want to reach that top level, like I've got to do more. What did the training look like for you to push yourself to that next level?
Oh, I think when I was in college, when we practiced, we practiced pretty much every day for about 2.5 hours. And then, there were, I don't have a, exact number, but there were many, many days, where I would stay after, and still work on some stuff with our coach, because, we would have a lot of stuff to do with the team, and, he would want to focus on, whoever it is that needed help that day and stuff. And, he kind of would let me do my thing, and then I would stay after and really, hammer out some things that I was having issues with, or that I was, felt like I was struggling with. And so we would work even more. So, I would stay later after, after our practice was over with, to continue to get more work in, and figure out, ways to get better. But for the overall consensus, I mean, for 4 years when we were in season, it was almost every day, except for the days that we traveled, for about 2.5 to 3 hours a day. And we never bowled on a house shot. We always bowled on sports shots. Some days our coach, Dennis Knepper, he would, before we would show up, he would spray rubbing alcohol across the lanes and take towels to certain areas on the lanes, to make the oil dissipate from certain parts. So we were forced to play one part of the lane, or, we had to get as far left as we could, and be able to get the ball to shape the right way from having to throw it over the ball return. And so there was just a lot of different things we did. And within the 4 years that really, I felt like really made me better. And, when you talk about, you mentioned that, all bowlers, they end up in college, obviously have to figure out a way to, get better. And, there are many ways to. You can never be satisfied. You always find ways to get better, and to learn how to, make different parts of your game as good as your A game. And, I felt like in college, we had a lot of bowlers where you get some that come in that would have, successful high school careers, and, would bowl well in school. They were the best player in their high school team, whatever the case may be. And, they get to college, and it's kind of like, they think they're fine. They're good, whatever. They don't really have to do much. They just need to show up and bowl. And, they kind of get a bit of a culture shock. And then on the flip side of it, you have those bowlers where they are successful, but then they come in and they don't think they're as good as what they are. And so they just work and work and work and work to constantly get better and better. And those are the players that end up having success. They win with their college, and then they go on after college, if they choose to, on tour and have successful professional careers, because they just never get satisfied. They always want to try to get better.
So, I feel like you're probably the prime example of someone who always wants to get better. They always want to improve and do whatever they can to get to that next level. So, after college, now, what are your training regimes look like, both on and off the lane?
Yeah, now it's, and today, like now, currently, it's a lot different than it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, for sure, with having a little one around. But during the season, there's not much. We get practice sessions at every tournament. So, if there's something that I feel is off, I can kind of work on it there, and then also kind of get a feel for the pattern in the bowling center that we're at that week. But when we're away from the season, or we get a break in the season, then getting ready for another event, generally about a week or two before the tournament, I'll start to kind of ramp up practice, and, I'll try to practice, maybe, 3 to 4 days a week, for about 2 hours at a time, to just get sharp, make sure that all areas of my game are good. My spares are good. I'm feeling all the right things with my hand and manipulating the ball the way that I want to. My physical game feels good. My swing's in a good spot. My body is in the right position that I want it to be in. I still fight, the thing, one of the same things from when I was younger of I just get a little too forward with my upper body. So I always have to work to try to get that to be a little taller, a little more upright at the line. And so that's what I use that time for. And then also, away from the lane stuff is, I spend some time in the gym and, whether it's doing some stuff around the neighborhood, going for runs or walks around our neighborhood, or doing some mobility and physio work with one of my sponsors, Fast Track Physio. Paul Schroeder and I have become really good friends over the years. That he's, kind of entrusted me to put his logo on my jersey. And he's also really helped me a lot with some functional movement and things that I wasn't necessarily paying that much attention to off the lanes, that I've, now realized that, are probably more important than just moving weight around and throwing weight around in the gym. It's doing the stretching, the myofascial, the physio, the functional movement, all that stuff, to make sure that my body is in the right physical shape and help promote longevity. So that way, when I'm traveling, whether I'm driving or flying or, week to week in every tournament, I'm not really having to worry about my body breaking down or things like that. I can just focus on bowling and what I need to do on the lanes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what's really underrated in bowling, and it's something that is definitely underappreciated, is the work you've got to put in off the lanes to get the results on the lanes. Physical and mental. And my dad's the biggest sort of preacher for it, about how mental games is the most important part of everything in life, really. And, you should train your mind like you train your body. How important do you think it is to make sure you're doing, even to a point of more work off the lanes as you are on the lanes to make sure?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly important. I've worked with a guy named Brian Kane for the mental side of stuff. When he first came into the Team USA training center in 2017, and I kind of clicked with him and resonated with him and how he taught things and how he approached like the mental side of stuff and the things that he did. So I've actually been the only one that's reached out to him individually that's been a part of that team. And him and I stay in contact throughout the year to make sure things are in order and to make sure I'm still doing the right things. And, he checks in to make sure that, I'm staying on top of all that. And it's a huge help. I've been, I've had a couple of years where, where I didn't really feel like I was at my best. And then when I reached out to him and started doing things with him, my season started to get better and better. I won last year right after seeing him. 2022 was probably one of my best full seasons, on tour thus far. So just having that side of stuff and having that a part of, my training regimen and things that I pay attention to is, I think is hugely important. And what a lot of guys just kind of look over or feel like they don't need to do it because we just bowl or whatever the case may be. But it is important. Not only the physical side, but the mental side for sure.
Mm-hmm. So, you do a lot of work on the mental side of the game. And I believe just after you won the Storm Lucky Larson Masters, you mentioned that there's a shift in your mentality going into bowling and going into competing. You talk us through that.
Yeah, just, I felt like, why I really hadn't got the job done and, why I was coming up short was, I was one, for lack of better terms, putting more pressure on myself than I needed to, or, the fact that I just wanted it more and wanted it so badly, where my focus started to shift more on just the process of each day, and just making sure that I'm doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing. And it's as simple as, when I get up, make my bed, and having time of, what I'm doing each day and structuring my day out to make sure that I am doing all that stuff. And just focusing on the process of every day, and then letting myself compete and just executing. It really did help last year and helped, through the middle part of the season this year. I'm not perfect. I still got away from that, every now and then. Every athlete does. But once you kind of stray away from it, you have to try to pull yourself back into it a little quicker, and to get yourself back on track and focusing on the things that you need to focus on. And, the biggest part in our sport is focusing on things you can control, because in bowling, there are many, many, many things that you cannot control. And, I'm still at a fault to it now. I think as a professional, you think every time your ball hits the pocket, it's supposed to strike, and we get mad when it doesn't strike, and, all that stuff. So, you just have to remind yourself of the things you got to focus on, and worrying about the things that you can control, and just focusing on executing as best you can, every single shot, every frame.
Mm-hmm. So with the finals of the PBA League coming up pretty soon, what's your tournament prep looking like going into that event?
I think we're bowling on the 42-foot Mark Roth pattern. Same one they've used for the finals for the PBA League for the last couple of years. Generally, promotes a lot of different angles to be able to get to the pocket. Usually it's a, higher scoring pattern. There's a little bit more forgiveness on that pattern. Bayside bowl has, it does have some friction. So guys are going to be hooking it. You'll see guys throwing urethane. You'll see guys playing in, just that pattern just allows for all that. And, the group of guys that we have, we all like to, usually navigate towards around the same part of the lane, and all of us kind of get to that same area and can work well off one another. When one guy ahead of us makes a move, we know what our move is off of that. And I think, that's why we've had the success that we've had. So yeah, you'll see some higher scores, especially I think on the fresh. If there's some matches that are on the burn, maybe not as much, because there will be, a bunch of different angles, from guys playing all over the lane. But yeah, it should provide a pretty good show.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So, you obviously you've been on the tour nearly 9 years. You started in 2015 when you first went pro. What's your growth been like, not only as a bowler, but as a person since you first went professional?
What's my what been?
What's your growth been like as a person, but and as a bowler?
I feel like when my growth as a person has changed quite a bit. When I first started on tour, I was 22 years old, and just 6 days ago I turned 32. So I'm a little older, and and at certain times more mature than I was when I first started. I feel like now I kind of understand. I understand a little bit more of what it takes, and what you need to do on the lanes, and following certain guys that are on tour, and being able to manipulate your ball roll to get it to go through the pins the right way, versus when I first came on tour, there was a huge learning curve. There was a huge learning period where in college, we would start in a certain part of the lane, and then everybody would get left on it, and we'd be able to throw it hard and hook it, and do all the fun stuff. On tour, it wasn't necessarily like that. We use different oils on tour. Follow players that have, just as much high rev rate as you do. Guys that are playing all over the lane, guys throwing urethane, guys throwing surface, all that stuff. So just learning to navigate and following the guys on tour it's wildly different than anything you'll ever experience. And so I had to, not only learn that, but also learn how to get my ball to roll the right way on the oils and, with the patterns that we use on tour as well. So there was definitely a big learning curve with that. And then, also when I first came on tour, I had a lot of success, like I said, in high school and college. And so I felt like I was, going to get, start bowling on tour and hit the ground running and going to, have all this success and do all, whatever it is. And it wasn't necessarily like that. It's really hard to win on the PBA tour. I would argue with the best of them that, it's harder to win on our tour than it is, on most of any of the other individual tours, golf and tennis, whatever, any of that, because we don't have as many events throughout the year as golf does and some of the other sports. So, it makes it harder that way. And all the guys that bowl on tour are really freaking good. So it's, you feel like you could be at the top of your game and striking like a madman, and someone else in the field 5 pairs over from you could also have that same look and could be striking like a madman as well. And so just learning to navigate all that and just, over the years, just maturing on the lanes, maturing and how to handle the daily life of traveling and bowling on tour, and what works well, what doesn't work well, and, what I need to do for myself in order to get myself ready to bowl every week so that I'm at the top of my game. And like I said earlier, where I'm only focusing on, what I need to do in that bowling center on that pattern, that week, instead of having to worry about stuff, away from the lanes. So there's a lot of learning with that as well. And I feel like over the years, I've done a, pretty good job of that. I'm still learning. I'm still figuring out ways to do that, especially now being a dad, trying to manage, that part of it, and, what I need to do for my family and Allie and my son Brantley. And then, also doing stuff, to make sure that, that I'm staying on top of my game as well.
Mm-hmm. So I don't want to take up too much of your time, so we've only got 2 more questions.
Sure.
So for me, legacy is a massive part of the game. You leave a lot behind when you retire, when you throw your last ball. So, I think it's important to think about how people want to be sort of remembered in the sport of bowling. So for you, how do you see your legacy?
Well, hopefully I don't have to worry about that for quite some time. Hopefully I have, I've got a bunch more years left, in that, but, it's a tough question. It's something that I don't think, guys really think about all that much until they're actually asked the question. But for me, really, like, I think at the top of the list, obviously for every bowler, they want to be remembered as being, one of the best to ever lace them up and be able to say that they were one of the greats that bowled and to be in the Hall of Fame and all that fun stuff. But, also for me too, it's important. It's just because of the way I was raised and how I was brought up. It's just, being a great competitor and being well respected by your peers and just being a good person in general. And having that, I feel like it's just important, if not maybe more important than the bowling accolades. And, being a role model for the next generation and my son as well, to be able to continue that on and someone that when kids get older and they start bowling, they can look back and say, oh, I remember AJ because, he treated me well. He was nice to me. He always took the time out, to talk to us. And he treated his fans just as, treated his fans like he does everybody else. And, never told anybody no, or never shied away from anything and just, treated everybody with respect because that was just how I was raised.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So the final question we've got is, if you could nominate one player, one bowler, doesn't have to be a bowler, anyone involved in bowling, that is, to come on the SpareTime podcast next, who would you nominate?
Who have you had before, so I don't repeat?
We've had a list. So we've had Parker Bone, Chris Barnes, Martin Larson. We've had quite a few.
Okay. I think, oh man. Well, I think one it would be good because ever since I've started bowling on tour, we've roomed together every year, and he's been one of my best friends even from college when we were on Team USA together and we roomed together, and he just had one of his best season that he's ever had this last year. And that's Marshall Kent.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've had him on yet, but I think he'd be a good one to have on. He's always good he's always good for a good story, and I'm sure you could have some fun if you ask him about us rooming together. We've had some stuff that we can, and also things that we can't share. That's for sure.
Yeah. I think that's a sign of a good friendship. But yeah. Marshall's a great pick. If you could help get him on, that would be amazing. But obviously, like I said, we've got over the hour mark now. So AJ, thanks for coming on the Spare Time Podcast. If you did enjoy this episode of the Spare Time Podcast, please like and subscribe and comment down below who you want to see next, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. And hey, like my man said, subscribe and like and watch the Spare Time Podcast. Little man does a great job.
Thank you. We'll see you in a bit.